Stage 2. Today we're going to be talking about our learning intention of rounding numbers. So when we round numbers, there's a lot of things that we need to think about, but I like to think about the word round. When I see round, I see a basketball. When I have rounding, I see a basketball, and a basketball is kind of circular-like, and that reminds me of the number 0. So when I'm thinking about round numbers, I need to make it nice and circular. So a lot of times when you're rounding, your ending number is going to be a 0. So just keep that in your mind, that your end number needs to definitely be a round number, a 0. When we're rounding, all you have to do is there's a few steps. So I'm going to start with the number 183. We're rounding numbers to tens or hundreds today. Tens or hundreds, the nearest 10 or the nearest 100. So looking at 183, we're going to round to the nearest 10. So the tens place, the 8 is in the tens place, and I know that I have 18 tens in this number. So the first thing I need to do is I need to find the decade on either side. So I have 180, and then 10 more than that is 190. I've made a number line, and in the middle, when I cut my number line in half, I know that that's going to be 185. I'll do that for every time. Every time I'm rounding, I'm going to have a decade on the left, decade on the right, and then the middle number, which is going to be the 5, halfway point. So then I have 183. I don't have to measure it exactly, but I do know that it's on the left side. I know that 183 is less than 185. So I'm going to put it about right here. This is 183. Then I ask myself, is that near or closer to 180 or closer to 190? I can visually see that my arrow is much further away for 190 than it is to 180. So I need to round down. That basketball needs a 0, so it's rounded to the nearest 10 is 88 tens. Let's do another example. We're going to try, let's try 72, just 72. So the first thing I need to do is I need to think about the decade on either side. First decade, well, I know that this is 70, 7 tens. And then the next one would be 8 tens, which is 80. Putting in the middle, I'm going to put the 5, so it's going to be 75. My number I'm looking at is 72. I need to figure out, is it more or less than 75? It's less than, so it's going to be on the left. It's about right there. So we can ask ourselves again, our arrow, are we closer to the 7 tens or closer to the 8 tens? I'm going to say the 7 tens. So I've rounded to the nearest 10, and it's 70. Let's see what we can do with the nearest 100. I'm going to try 957. 957. So now I'm looking at the hundreds place, so I need to find the hundreds between each of them. So the first one is 900, and then one more 100 than that. Oh, if I have 9 hundreds, add another 100 to it. I need to trade that up. I'm going to make it 1,000. So if I have 10 hundreds, I have 1,000. In the middle, 950. So asking myself, 957, is that going to fit on the left or the right? I know the 7 makes it larger than 950. It's going to be right about here. 957. Then I need to ask myself, is it closer to this century? Instead of a decade, we now have a century, 900, or is it closer to 1,000? So 1,000, 900. Again, we can visually see that it's closer to 1,000 than it is to 900. Therefore, I'm still reminding myself I have round numbers. So basketball, basketball, basketball. I have 3 basketballs at the end of this. It's rounded to 1,000. So I'm going to put some on here. I'm going to put some on the board, and I'm going to let you practice them in your workbook, and we'll see what the answers are. So rounding to the nearest 10. Let's try these ones. And I would make sure that I have my number line and the proof. This is your proof. So when we ask you for your proof, show your proof. So rounding to the nearest 10, you're gonna have the numbers 46, and then 1,138, and 865. You're gonna practice those, so that's 3 different number lines. And then rounding to the nearest 100, I'd like to see 1,266, 793, and then 837. All right, give those a try and we'll see how you go.